Hi everyone, it's Kelly here. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time, and welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you here either way. Today I am doing a video that's probably a little bit different to what I've done before. It's just something that I have been thinking a little bit about, and that is collectible books. So books that you add to your collection because you want to have a collection, because you want to invest in good quality, beautiful books to have on your shelf. I know that a lot of people, when collecting books in this way, might sort of steer towards a particular type of edition brought out by a particular publisher, and try and sort of make their shelves look very consistent and have, you know, the same type of edition of books to sort of have a nice, you know, even looking collection on their shelf. Not me. I'm a little bit more chaotic with my collecting habits, and specifically here we're talking about classics, because, you know, I collect all sorts of books, you know, and books that I am really interested in reading. I do get drawn to a lovely cover, but obviously, you know, sometimes you just can't help the kind of cover that your book has. That's just its cover. However, when it comes to classics, you often have a lot of choice because, you know, especially classics that have been published a long time ago, many editions exist of these books. And of course, I thought the best way for us to start talking about this is looking at very old editions or you know, classic editions, if you will. So I've got a couple here to show you today from my collection. Basically, we're just going to do a little bit of a wander through the collection, talk about different types of collectible editions of books, and I'm going to show you some of the ones that I've got. But please know that my taste and my acquisition habits are very eclectic, in the sense of I'm drawn to what I'm drawn to, and if I don't like a particular book in that edition, I'm not going to get it, even if I've got several others in that edition. So I'm not, you know, interested in having even looking bookshelves. I'm nowhere close to the type of booktuber or bookstagrammer who has like a, you know, rainbow shelves. That's never going to be me. You know, I appreciate it. I think it looks beautiful, but that's just not me. Not me at all. So what I thought I'd show you today, let's start with some old books. Now, I actually only recently got these, and these are all books that belonged to my grandparents. So I've mentioned on this channel before, my beautiful grandmother passed away in March, and my fabulous grandfather is currently living in a sort of a care facility at the moment and thriving. He's doing really well. But prior to them moving into this care facility, the decision was made, you know, they were obviously part of that decision, of course, but to sell their house. And so we went through this big process of clearing things out. My mum and aunt did the bulk of the sort of sorting, and it was decided that the person in our family who probably would most appreciate some old collectible books would be me. So I have found myself in possession of said books. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So a lot of these books belonged to my grandmother. They're gorgeous little editions. I'm not going to show you oh, maybe I can. If I just don't want to dox myself here, or my grandmother. So I'll just cover up her surname there. So, you know, they've got these little award plates. This one was 1948, so they're all sort of around that era, because these were when she was at school. And let me just say, I had no idea. I mean, I knew my grandma was smart, but I had no idea how smart she was. Basically, dux of her year, like every year, because there are books here for, you know, for all of the, that, and also doing particularly well in certain subjects as well. So I've got Emma, which I'll just show you there. So one of the drawbacks, I guess, of these little editions is that sometimes the print can be a little bit small, the margins are a little bit small, so it can be harder to read. Very portable though, because they're quite tiny. This was also one that she was awarded in 1948. Looks like they got their sets at the same time because they obviously go together. We've got some other ones that were, some of these are, this is Dream Days by Kenneth Graham, as in of Wind in the Willows fame. And this one is The Golden Age, also by Kenneth Graham. The titles go the opposite way to most books on my shelf, so that's interesting. And then some more. This little one here is selections from Tennyson. Now, I think this is one that is not, I don't know whose this was. I don't know who Hazel Bishop is. But it's a little poetry collection of Tennyson that looks like it's been a little bit annotated. So I don't know where this one came from. Maybe secondhand. I've got this one here. There's all sorts of them. I probably won't show you all of them in too much detail. So the gold is kind of coming off. This one's interesting. This one was... so this one's from 1946. Rainbow Classics is the edition, and it's A Child's Garden of Verse by Robert Louis Stevenson. It has colour plates at the beginning, and at the end, and in the middle here, there's a little colour plate as well, I think, So at the time, it was probably quite unusual to have all these colour plates. Another one there. So that's quite a beautiful one. And then I've got a couple of other ones too. Some of these are also, so we've got a little collection of Kenneth Graham there. And this collection, I believe, has several books in it. Yeah, so it's got The Golden Age, Dream Days, and The Wind in the Willows in this edition. This one's seen better days, unfortunately. This one was not awarded to my grandmother. It was awarded to Ernest, who I'm not 100% sure. It might have been her dad. I really should be better at my own family tree here. Might have been her dad, or it could have been an older brother. But as you can see, it was awarded in 1903. So this is probably one of the older books that I have in my collection. And it was awarded via his scripture and grammar was what he got it for. So I'm assuming that that's Bible study type of stuff. Anyway, this is a Christian book, so I'm assuming that that is the case. And then we've got Pride and Prejudice with a very decaying slip cover, but underneath it's a little bit damaged. So this is a lovely old edition of Pride and Prejudice. This one doesn't have a book plate. Let me see if I can find when it was published. So this is an Oxford publishing. So this impression was published in 1946 in England. And I've also got this one here, which is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. And I believe this one does have it's got a plate in it. So that's also from 1948. A good year for awarding my grandmother, that's for sure. And it also has some colour plates in as well. And then my mum found this one, which actually belonged to my mum, though that doesn't really give you an idea of her age. So my mum's name is Wendy. So I'm thinking this was probably a gift. It is 100% falling apart because I guess it was something that was given to a child, and she remembers reading this. It looks like I also have have at some point been horrible to a book. So this was another one that my mum put aside for me to keep as well. And then the last one I've got is actually not as old, and it was given to my grandfather. There's a little inscription in the front that says, so my grandpa is Charles. So this was given to him for his 50th birthday, and it was this particular edition was published in 1981, so it's not that old, but it is a lovely sort of gilded edges edition of several of Charles Dickens' books, which are Oliver Twist, Great Expectations, and A Tale of Two Cities. So that's another one that I acquired in that sort of set of acquisitions. So those are sort of some of my older classics that I have. Next I want to talk about box sets of classics, because box sets are a good way to get a whole set of books by a particular author or that have been sort of published together. The first set that I'm going to show you is one that you will have seen on my channel if you've been here for some time, and that is my collection of Jane Austen's. It is the Jane Austen collection. Now, I saw this in a bookshop and I said to my husband, you can get me that for my birthday, please, thank you. Now, you can see that this is loose. It's because there's also a journal that goes with it, but I've taken it out because otherwise these books are really impossible to sort of get in and out of the box because it's very tightly packed. So last year I was reading through Jane Austen and I read all 6 of her fully published novels, fully completed novels. So I haven't yet read, so that's what this collection is, and I've put them in, so I read them in publishing order, so that's why I've reorganized them to be in publishing order here. Excuse me. So having a set of books like this is really good, and I'll just pull one out just to quickly show you. So that's Persuasion, which is my new favourite Jane Austen. I hadn't read it before, I don't think. So Pride and Prejudice used to be my favourite, and it's still up there for me. But now Persuasion, I think, is my favourite, followed by Pride and Prejudice and then Sense and Sensibility. I had some issues in the middle here. The project of reading them all kind of got a little a little difficult in the middle because there were some problematic things in the text that I found hard to kind of look past. And I know Emma is a lot of people's favorites. Don't come at me. It wasn't for me. So that's my set of Jane Austen books. They're cloth bound, beautiful little editions. The only thing I will say is that these particular editions, again, like I was showing you, the text is so tiny. It's very, very small. And the margins also are very small, which I personally find harder to read. But with this project, I was listening to the books on audiobook and just sort of following along with the book, so it wasn't too bad. Now, the publisher of these is Arcturus, if you're looking to find them for yourself. And I can't remember exactly how much this set cost. I think it wasn't too bad. It was maybe somewhere in between $50 and $100. I think it was more closer to 50, maybe even 50. So it wasn't too expensive, and the little books looked quite beautiful. So I was quite happy to get those. The other books that I've got, I have shown this on my my channel before because I bought it for myself. And it is the Puffin in Bloom collection, which is just gorgeous. And it has 4 different books in it by different authors. So we've got Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, and Heidi by Joanna Spyri. So, again, I probably should have done this before. These are also a little bit tightly packed. Can we get any out to show you? Because, oh yes, here they come. They're actually really beautiful. Whoop. Cute. There's a little bookmark in there. I don't know if I knew that. I'll pop that one aside because I think I might use it. So this is the cover of Heidi. So I'll just move it back and forth so you can see, because it's got that gorgeous gold foil. So you can see the illustrations on the front are just absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous end papers as well. And for these ones, the text is surprisingly not too tiny like they were in the Jane Austen set. So that is quite good. That seems quite readable to me. So that obviously they've got the spacing and the font size right in these books, because they are kind of small in terms of, you know, other books that might be on, see this one as well, on your shelf. So they're quite sort of short and stubby. But yeah, just absolutely beautiful. So I've been eyeing these off, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get them for myself. If I've been dropping hints about these, nobody got them for me. I'm getting them for myself for my birthday. So that's that. Okay, so those were my box sets. So now I want to talk about different publishers and show you some of the other ones that I've got. So I've got a couple that are just one-off, so I'll very quickly get those out of the way. So one of them is this one, which is Maurice by E.M. Forster, which I read and tabbed a lot, but I really, really love this. I have no idea what that design is. To me, it looks kind of like broccoli. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not sure what the significance of it is, but that it is what it is, I guess. So this one is Hodder and Stoughton publication, and I believe this one I purchased and it was surprisingly cheap. Like it was sort of more in the $20 range rather than, you know, what you would expect for a hardcover book to be. So yeah, I was quite pleased to be able to get a hardcover. This is a great book, by the way. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend. This one is Wordsworth Classics. These are quite all, you know, there's a lot of these around. This one I was just buying to have a copy, not knowing that I was going to be getting a copy of it from my my grandmother's collection. So this is Silas Marner by George Eliot, which I had heard was a good one to start. Again, the text very, very small, so I don't know that I would recommend that. Whereas with this one, the Maurice text quite large and easy, well formatted, making it much easier to read. The next set, so those were my one-offs. Then I've got randomly like maybe 2 to 3 books of these types. Now this type I accidentally started buying. This was the first one that I acquired, not realizing that it was going to be this tiny. I had sort of just picked it from the cover illustration and ordered it online. So these are the Macmillan Collector's Library, they're called. And they have this beautiful gold edging as well. Underneath their slip covers, they're this lovely blue. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that clearly. But yeah, so they're a sort of a cloth-bound hardback. They've got gorgeous end papers as well. So they've really taken care with the publication of these. The text is quite small, but yeah, they are beautiful little editions. So I've actually got quite a few of these now. I've picked out a couple more just to show you, but I have many, many more. So we've got Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I've got a Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream. And that one is The Phantom of the Opera. So just beautifully well thought out publication. They are definitely collectors' books, though. I don't think I've ever actually read from one of these books, but they look so beautiful, especially all together on the shelf as well. So they're a lovely little collection, and well worth it, but I would say probably difficult to read. The next ones that I've shown a couple of, but I got a new one of this set. So these are the 2 I've shown you before on this channel. So we've got Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I've also got The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I've shown you these before. Again, we've got the beautiful gold foil edges, which are just stunning. Not much to say in the end paper department. But these are the Chiltern Classics. Wow, the pages themselves are quite thick. I'm surprised by that. And you can see that the text is a little bit on the small side, but the formatting is quite good. So a bit easier to read. The pages, I'm surprised that, I don't know what I was expecting, like thin Bible pages or something maybe, but they're actually quite thick. So again, I haven't read from those editions. I haven't read Tess of the D'Urbervilles at all. Great Gatsby I have read, but from an old edition. And this is my new one that I've gotten in this same Chiltern Classics set, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. So again, the beautiful gold foiling. Stunning. So they're quite gorgeous. Another set that I have are these two, which I'm just going to have a look. They're Virago. So I got these two to match. I saw this cover, and I think this is the nicest cover that this book has been published in my opinion. So this is Virago. So I got this one to match as well. So I had the two together. Although you can see this one, I know why the cage bird sings. I purchased secondhand. You can see it's quite yellowed, whereas I bought this one brand new. And the other Virago book that I have is this gorgeous cover with Rebecca of Daphne du Maurier. I got this one secondhand. This one actually was for free, though somebody has, it's a little bit damaged. So it's got a little bit of, looks like water damage maybe. And, you know, it was somebody's school textbook and they have marked it up a little bit, though, and dog-eared a couple of the pages. Not too much marking up, to be honest. Just a tiny bit, so that's not too bad. But I bought it. I got it for free because of how beautiful this cover is. It's absolutely gorgeous. So those are my Viragos. Then I've got some vintage. So these are the vintage classics. So I've got they're the red spines, and they do look very cohesive on the shelf, I will say. So I've got a couple of them here. I do have a couple more, but I just thought I'll grab a couple to show you. So I've got If on a Winter's Night, A Traveller by Italo Calvino. I've got The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which is relatively recent acquisition. And I got this one, which is the Grimm's Fairy Tales, the complete fairy tales. I thought that would be good to have. So yeah, I was quite pleased to be able to get these. These are paperback, so they're quite the text is relatively easy to read and well spaced. So they're quite easy to read, and I definitely would feel quite okay about marking these up if that's what I was into, which I'm not, but if I were, that'd be fine. Another one I've got are the Oxford World Classics. So I've got Metamorphoses. I don't actually have very many of these. Metamorphoses by Ovid. And I've got War and Peace by Tolstoy. So again, they're paperback. Let me just open up. Text is a little bit smaller in these, so a little bit less readable perhaps. But again, they're well spaced, so that's not too bad. And the pages are a little bit thinner as well. So that, and they also look quite nice together on the shelf, even though, and they've got like a little bit of what's on the front cover, just sort of at the top. So even though they're quite different, they do look quite cohesive on the shelf together. So that is something to consider if that's important to you. Okay, my stacks next to the camera are getting a little bit high. So the last of my sort of real randoms, and then we're going to talk Penguin because I've got a lot of different Penguin editions. So this is one that I picked up at a secondhand bookstore in perfect condition, mind you. Now these ones are, let me find who publishes them. I will say just before I do, text quite large, quite readable. These are Marshall Cavendish Limited, published 1988 for the Great Writers Library by Marshall Cavendish Partworks Limited in London. but printed and bound in Spain. There you go. So looks like it's called The Great Writers' Library if you're looking for them. So end papers, beautiful. So this one I've just picked up, and it's just random. I've never seen these editions anywhere else before. And then when I brought it home, my husband was like, oh, that looks a little bit like a really nice copy of Great Expectations that was given to me as a gift. And it turns out they're the same. So we just accidentally started a collection of these. So yeah, we've got these. So it's, what did I say that was? The Great Writers' Library. So the Great Expectation is looking a little bit worse for wear than this one, but that's because I've got that one brand new. All right. Ooh, these stacks, they're a worry. Okay. Moving the big box out of the way that I was storing all of those in. Bringing the new box in. Okay, whoops. All right. Okay, so, excuse me. Let's talk Penguin, because Penguin have all sorts of different editions, and a lot of them are really beautiful. So probably the most famous would be the little orange Penguin book. So these are the sort of cheap price, the original Penguin sort of format. I would say the text is a reasonable size for reading, and also relatively okay spacing. For these little orange ones. And they do, when you have them on a bookshelf, they do look really nice, sort of lined up together. But that's sort of just their baseline product, because then they've got so many beautiful editions as well. So one that I have that's just a one-off here, which I think I have shown this on this channel before. So this is a Penguin book, and the set is called, so the special edition of the Railway Children is inspired by International Women's Day and introduced by writer and activist Scarlett Curtis. Okay, that doesn't help me know what this series is. So here's what you can get in the series, and they all sort of have this kind of like the text in the hair of the character. So I'll show you that. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if that's focusing or not. Okay. Again, the end paper's absolutely stunning. For a little paperback, it's just gorgeous. So I was quite keen to get this one. I would say that the text is quite reasonable. Again, it's a sort of smaller format in terms of the height of the book, and a little bit wider than most books. So if I would put the Penguin up for comparison, so it's roughly the same height as the orange Penguin, but you can see it's sort of much wider. So that's one of theirs. I'm going to find out. I think it's called the Sisterhood, possibly. That's what it says on the back here. If I find out any more information, I will put it up onto the screen for you. Yeah, the Sisterhood. I think that's what it is, because at the back here, they've got this here. Okay. So we're going to call it the Sisterhood Classics set. But I've only got one of those, but there are 6 in that set if you wanted to get them yourself. Okay, I've also got these little ones. They put these out. They're called Penguin Little Black Classics. I was originally Carolyn Marie Reads. I've got on a little post-it on the back here. They're just these very tiny. So that's where I first heard about these, on Carolyn Marie Reads channel. And they're just these very small, and they're numbered as well. So I believe you can buy these in a box set, as a set altogether. Maybe not a box set, but a set altogether. I just have this one, which is The Death of Ivan Ilyich. But yeah, basically they're sort of shorter reads, and they're all this kind of like small format, quite thin sort of style of book. I would say the text is pretty decent sizing, so easy-ish to read, I would imagine. Another one that I've got that is a Penguin is this gorgeous copy of A Room with a View, and this is the Penguin Essentials. Essential reads, beautifully designed, it says, and right on the back here there's a couple of other ones that you can get there. I don't know if that's all they published in this series, or if that's just a sample. I'm not sure. But if you couldn't read that, it's Great Gatsby, Brideshead Revisited, Breakfast at Tiffany's. So that's that. Text a little bit small, I would say, but well spaced. But yeah, look at that cover. That one was definitely a cover purchase for me. And the spine is quite beautiful too, because it's got the design from the bits of the design from the front have also been put onto the spine, though not matching. Like it's not follow through. So that's interesting. And then this is another one that I picked up. Now this one's technically Puffin, but I believe correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe Puffin is part of Penguin. So this is a gorgeous copy of Jane Eyre. I don't know if it's from a set or just a one-off. Okay, so what on the front, in the front cover, it says B Classic. So that could be, yeah, that looks like that's the set. So there's a list of the books there that come in this set. I have never seen any other ones. I just saw this one on its own in a bookshop and picked it up because it looked like a really nice edition to read. I would say the text is a good size and nicely spaced. So definitely a very readable edition, I would say, of Jane Eyre. Okay, now let's talk about some of my other ones. So some random ones that I've gotten. This one was a gift from my husband. And it's a set of different Bronte sister books. So we've got Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Agnes Grey, and The Professor. And underneath it looks like this, which is actually, might even ditch that cover because I'm not a massive fan of that cover. I think underneath looks much nicer, much more classic, I was about to say. Nothing to be said about the end papers because they're just plain white. But this is, it was published in 2009. I can't see if it says anything about it being a particular set of books or anything like that. Oh, here we go. Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition is what it is. Oh, that's small text. So, not particularly readable. Wear your glasses. Use your specs. Okay. A couple more randoms that I've got. Okay. Now, I know these are very collectible also. These are the modern classics, and they've got that gorgeous kind of duck egg blue, I would call that color. So that's very, the modern classics set. I would definitely say are quite beautiful. So they've got these lovely black and white photograph on this edition here with that duck egg blue on the spine. So lined up together, they would look quite nice. If I'm not mistaken, this is sort of like an earlier iteration of that sort of same thing because it uses that similar color, that duck egg blue, but it's an older type of version of these. And I think these are called the Penguin 20th Century Classics. So that one is Herman Hesse, The Prodigy. And then I've got this one that I purchased a while back. It's the Scarlett Pimpernell, and this is the Penguin English Library. And I believe these have that sort of, this stripy kind of deal on their spine. So again, even though they've got different colorways and so on for different books, they would look quite cohesive together in a set. So yeah, that's not too bad. And let's have a look. That text is fairly readable, I would say. Nicely spaced. Not too bad. Okay. Now we come to the Penguin Classics. Now, unfortunately, neither of these look very neat and tidy. They've got a little bit of spine damage there, and this one's got a little bit of damage on the front cover, but that's what happens when you buy secondhand books, I guess. So these are the, what do they call these? Penguin Classics, I think, with the black spine. And again, if you're into your shelves looking nice and neat, they would look really nice together. Very classic, very understated sort of spines. But again, quite interesting covers. This is not the nicest cover of The Master and Margarita, and it was not the one I thought I was going to be getting when I ordered. So that was when I discovered that sometimes you get a different edition to the one you think you're ordering. But this one I did get because it's quite a lovely front cover to that one. Then, oh my gosh, I've got 2 more different Penguin sets to show you. These are probably some of my favorite. Sorry. I kind of laughed and coughed at the same time. Sorry about that. So these are some of my absolute favorite Penguin editions that exist in the world. It's the Penguin Threads set. And what I love about these, and this is the one that I was first drawn to. So it's kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but there's texture. So it's kind of like an embroidery. And if you open up, so it's got the flap there. It's like it's the reverse side of the embroidery on the inside, which I just was fascinated by. They're absolutely beautiful. So these are actual, when they were creating the covers for these, they got this artist, Gillian Tamaki, to make actual embroideries, which is how they got the covers. Now, these also have a deckled edge. I don't think I've had any that I've shown you so far today that have deckled edges, but these ones do, which again adds to the charm, I think. But I would also say this is probably the nicest cover out of all of the Penguin Threads editions that exist. This one, so that's The Secret Garden. Black Beauty is another one. I am not in love with the cover of that one, but again, it is still that really amazing kind of, the reverse side just looks so fascinating of that embroidery. And then this is one that I got recently secondhand, which is Little Women. You can see lots and lots of detail on that. Oh, that's a hot mess on the other side. I love it. It looks really cool. So those are the Penguin Threads. I'm so glad that these exist in the world. I think there's only maybe about 6 books in the set, but I've only got 3. I've got 3 of them. Okay, the last set that I'm going to show you is actually the set that inspired this whole video. And that is because I purchased, as I said to you before, Persuasion is now my new favorite Jane Austen book. I decided that I wanted to buy myself a really nice standalone copy to have on my shelves. So I decided after a bit of research on the Penguin cloth-bound classic cover because it's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. So these also look really fabulous. I've seen other people who maybe just collect just these, and they do look really nice together on the shelf. Just uniform, but like lots of beautiful different colors, like a rainbow. So really, really fun. The only other cloth-bound classic I have is this one, Lady Chatterley's Lover, which also has a gorgeous cover. But as you can see, like they just look, even though those colors completely do not go together on the shelf, they look really nice together. So yeah, and that was a gift from my husband also. So those are the last 2 that I wanted to show you today for the Penguin section of this video. I've been talking for a very long time, but I would really, really love to hear what editions you collect. Do you collect? Do you only collect the same type of editions for your classics? What sort of motivates you? Like, I know for me, I kind of think, you know, I just like to have the classics there ready to pull off the shelf at any time and read whenever I'd like. But I also kind of, because they're classics, I think I see them as a bit more of a collection worthy of collecting, you know, whereas I think with my just, you know, modern fiction and other books that I read, I kind of am ready to part with once, you know, if it wasn't like a 5-star read, I'm kind of ready to pass them on to someone else. So yeah, whereas with these, even if I didn't love them, I probably would still keep them. So I don't know, I think they're a bit of a different beast as part of your collection, and I'd love to hear all about the way that you collect, what kind of editions you love, Was there something that jumped out at you today that you didn't know existed that you are now immediately Googling to see if you can find a copy of? Because I know that's how I choose a lot of my books. When I see someone with a really nice edition, I'm like, I need to get that. I need to find that one. So yeah, would love to hear all about it, and would love to chat with you down in the comments if you're keen. All right, I will see you on the next one. Bye.